All right, I'm going to actually go ahead and get started because as I really appreciate you being here. As I planned this, this is not a 10-minute TED Talk. This is a breakout session on brand mission, vision, and core values. So there is tons of information I would love to share with you. The entire presentation, everything that's up here is already uploaded to the app. So you can download the PDF and you can contact me at any time you want. I would spend hours talking to you about this topic. So I'm really excited to be in front of you. I'll share a little bit about me in a minute. Not too much because we have a lot to cover. But hopefully you're in the right session. This is brand mission, vision, and core values are everything for your organization. So we're going to get started right away with a little interaction. So your vote matters. And we're going to vote this way. You're going to vote with your fingers, and you don't get to think about it too long, but I do want to get everybody's opinion on this. So, and this will make a lot more sense later on. But here's the rules. You have $4 to vote with. Everybody here don't have to be 18, although I think everybody is. You get $4 to vote with. You can only vote in $1 increments, so I don't want $1.73. It's got to be 1, 2, or 3. You can vote from $0 to $3, okay? And the question is, what's most critical to your organization? Brand statement, mission statement, vision statement, or core values? What's the most critical thing for your organization? Think about it a minute. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say brand statement, and everybody hold up how many fingers of dollars they're going to vote so I can get a total. So $0 to $3. You don't have to, but you can only vote a maximum of 4 total. And I'm not going to do your math at the end to see if somebody's cheating. So, right? Makes sense? So you can vote 1 on each one, 1, 1, 2, 0, whatever you want to do. Okay? So number of votes, how important, the most critical to your organization, your brand statement or what you stand for. Anybody got, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, that's a 0. 5, 6, 7, 8. $8. Who's going to be my person to remember that amount because I don't have a board? Actually, I do have a board. $8. Okay? So $8 for brand. Mission statement. What's a critical factor for your organization? 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 or how many? How many dollars? Either between $0 and $3 you get to vote. 3. Okay, so let me do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 17, 19, 21, 22. $22, okay, for mission. 22. Vision statement, most important. 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 9, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 25, 26, 27, 28. $28. And your core values. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, 18, 21, 23, 24, 27, 29, 31, 32, 35, 34, 36, 39, 41, 42, 42. Okay. Awesome. So you'll understand why I asked you to do this little exercise later on in the presentation. But according to this room, and you guys should all get gold stars because you led right into my presentation. According to this room, the most important thing of those in your organization is your core values. Okay? 42 votes for core values, only 8 for brand, probably because you don't know what a brand statement is, or you might go, well, is that the same as mission? And it could be. We'll talk about that a little bit as well. So, awesome. So we'll just leave that there for now as we go through the presentation. So, quickly, who am I? Why am I standing in front of you? First of all, I'm a redeemed, loved child of God, as we all are sitting in this room. It's like, hey, can you tell me about you? And the first thing we say is, well, I'm the CEO of the Lutheran High School Association in Milwaukee. We're putting the emphasis on the wrong thing. So I'm married to my wife, Jenny, for 39 years. We have 3 kids, 3 daughter-in-laws, and 4 amazing grandkids. My oldest grandson is 10. And I've been the CEO of the Lutheran High School Association for 10 years. Prior to that, I spent 25 years buying and selling businesses. And most of that focused on alignment of vision. Some people called it a turnaround mentality. Most people, because I was in the consulting business back in the 80s, they called it, oh, so you can't get a real job, so you decided to become a consultant. So I'm either was way ahead of the curve or way behind the curve, I'm not sure. So here's just a brief thing about our organization. We serve 2,160 students, so we're schools. And we have 4 brick and mortar high schools, 1 brick and mortar grade school, and we have 2 very small virtual campuses that we also manage. We have 290 employees, and I have had the ability, I've been blessed to be able to do this process, this facilitation process, with a couple other organizations in our area. So, question. Anybody know the person on the right? That's Louis Morello. Louis Morello is a operator of a Chick-fil-A franchise in Dallas, Texas. Anybody know that guy on the left? That's Truett Cathy. Truett Cathy is the founder of Chick-fil-A many, many years ago. And he had a vision. And he had a mission. And he had a purpose for his organization that he would never, ever, ever give up on until the day that he died. Important for this reason. Let's talk a little bit more about these guys. April 18th, 2018, Southwest Airlines, that engine failed, had a big explosion. Tragically, 1 individual lost their life in that accident. Thankfully, everybody else, they were able to be saved and they got to the ground. Louis got a phone call from his buddy at Southwest. They're based out of Dallas, and said, look, we've had this horrible tragedy. I need to get our response team in motion immediately, but we haven't eaten. Can you help? Louis instantly said, absolutely, what do you need? And he said, I need 95 meals, so I have 25 minutes. And so Louis and his team rushed through, made 95 meals, rushed them over to Southwest, the airstrip, the airport, and dropped them off. And he said, hey, we'll figure out how this all works later. And you know what Louis said at that moment? Anybody eat at Chick-fil-A? What would Louis have said at that moment? It's my pleasure to serve you. Good luck, we're praying for you. It's my pleasure to serve you. They left, right? They left. The letter, and I'm going to read it verbatim here. Letter says this, that he got later. We thank Louis for his unmatched hospitality, empathy, charity, and his embodiment of Southwest's value of the warrior spirit and a servant's heart. This act of kindness speaks to the magnitude of the quality of people you have working for you at Chick-fil-A. We are blessed by Chick-fil-A, and we are grateful for owners like Louis. His team and the many others of Chick-fil-A restaurants across the country bless us every day. So, right, everybody's eating at Chick-fil-A. You probably have had it's my pleasure to serve you, delivered to you. You may even have had one that I look for all the time, where I say, thanks so much, and they're like, you're welcome. And then you'll see a supervisor or somebody, a shift manager, kind of lean forward, and then he goes, oh yeah, it's my pleasure to serve you, right? It's a correction. His vision, Truett Cathy's vision, was something that he founded his company on. And that's what we want to talk about. So, and here's a piece that you need to understand. Truett Cathy said, the reason we're going to say it's my pleasure to serve you is because we have a servant mentality. We exist to serve others. If I said, no problem, that means, well, I'm not bothered too much. I didn't go out of my way too much. If you say, have a nice day, it just means we have a relationship, but I'm not serving you. So it is intentional, incredibly intentional, that it says, my pleasure to serve you. Here's what you need to know as a leader, whether you're a school leader, or a church leader, or another organization leaders. I know there's lots of church leaders in here, so I apologize. I live in the school world, so adapt it a little bit. But here's the thing you need to know. Truett Cathy, when he decided on that, he mandated that to his organization. How many of us think mandates work very well? Like, you have to do this, right? Not great, but it was so important to him that he mandated that we're going to say it's my pleasure to serve you. Mandate. So I had the chance to go down there and visit with at the Franchise Support Center. That's what they call their world headquarters, their Franchise Support Center. And Truett Cathy, his son, was actually running the company at that time. And I said, tell me about that. And he said, it was easy. It took a mere 10 years of Truett Cathy correcting everybody and insisting that this happen before my pleasure to serve you took hold. 10 years. So when we're trying to implement a change in our brand, mission, vision, or core values, and you've worked at it for a year and a half and it's just not taking hold, take heart that it's 10 years. And it changes people's lives. So I saw a lot of people ate at Chick-fil-A. Interesting. 2 restaurants. Both serve chicken. Both have extensive product lines. And even they both use red and white in their advertising and their logos. When you go to those 2 restaurants, are they the same? That's your core values right there. That's what we're talking about. And so here's what I want to share with you. Whether they're written down or not, whether they're explicitly explained on a poster, every organization, every church, every school, every organization has a set of brand, mission, vision, core value, and core value statements. Some of them might be well defined, some of them might not. But they are what drives your culture. They are what drives operations. They are what should drive everything within your organization. So that's what we're going to talk about. And that's where I am going to jump for the rest of the presentation. And some of it's going to go pretty quick. Please stop me at any time if you have a question or you don't understand something. This is in our organization, and we're going to talk about each one of these individually, okay? Actually, the first 2 we'll talk about together. We believe this. Your brand statement is why you exist. Now, those of you who are Simon Sinek lovers have heard that statement before. Why do you exist, and why should anybody care, right? Why you exist is your brand statement. Your mission statement is what you do every day. What do we do? Your vision statement is where you're going. Your core values are how you're going to get there. And the core value statements are the behaviors that we're going to expect and exhibit in order to get to our brand, mission, and vision. Okay? That's just an overview. I'm going to talk about each one individually, and we'll dig into the middle of that. All right? So here's where we start. 1 minute friendly fire. I'm actually going to, 1 minute friendly fire is fine. Share with somebody next to you your mission statement and how much you love it. Okay? Just tell them what it is, or if you hopefully you can recite it. If you can't, if you have to look it up, that probably should be noted. But share with a friend of yours for 1 minute, 30 seconds each. Share with somebody your mission statement, how much you love it, and we'll come back in 1 minute. Ready, go. It's hot, super hot in here.
It is. I don't think it's on, but
yeah.
There's ways of pushing it. You want me to try?
No, it's fine. It's still whatever if you can. All right, make sure you switch. Make sure you switch so the other one can talk. All right, finish up. You got about 5 seconds. As the most important person in the room tries to get the air conditioning on. Thank you so much. Solving problems. All right, so real quick, who's got one they just absolutely have to share? It's so good that they have to share it. I'm only going to take 1 or 2. Anybody have one that like, this is the best mission statement ever written? Yes.
St. James Lutheran Church in New York. Changing lives with the love of God to the glory of God.
Awesome. How many words is that?
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else got one? Yes.
Look up, look around, look out.
Look up, look around, look out. This is such a good group. Okay. Awesome. So I'm gonna go back one. In our organization, this process took us about 4 years to get to where we are today, to get to something. And you may have elements of it in place. You may be able to beg, borrow, and steal like most of us do from others to get where you want to go. But the process has to start with your brand and or your mission. Now, I don't think you need both. We happen to, at our organization, have both. Our brand statement is we teach truth. Jesus makes all the difference. That's our brand statement. That's why we exist. We exist to teach the Bible. That's what our schools exist to do. And then our mission statement is we share Jesus-shaped lives and we develop leaders because we're high school schools. It's what we do by delivering Scripture every day. But you got to start there, right? I think we got to start there, and that's the foundation. You have to have a strong brand, mission, and vision to get started. So let's dig into that a little bit. The Golden Circle is Simon Sinek tool, right? People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. If you haven't seen some of his stuff, go online and type in Simon Sinek and look at his stuff.
How do you spell cynic?
S-I-N-E-K. Yep. He's incredible. And he talks about Apple computers. He's like, people buy why Apple exists, not what they do. And so they rewrite their mission statement in order to tell people what they or why they exist, not what they do. Here's a kind of an example. If we were just telling people about our school, we might say we're a college prep high school. We love kids and care about them, and we will prepare them for a future with a Christ-centered education. Do you want to attend our school? Most people go, it's okay.
Maybe.
Right. Well, are you the only one that has a Christ-centered education and the only one that, but if what was your mission statement? Look up, look out. Look up, look around, look out. This one, we create dream makers and world changers who lead through a Christian lens. You could just stop it right there. We do this through high-quality academics, providing exceptional high school experiences and unparalleled relationships between students and staff. Does this interest you? Yeah.
It's a little oversold. It's a little over the top.
It's what we're trying to do.
Okay.
It's a mission statement. That's what we're trying to accomplish.
How?
We'll get into that. Vision, and core values and core value statements, right? You don't need to write everything. That's why I said we could stop at look up, look around, look out.
Because people have to carry it with them.
Right?
It's got to be simple.
That's why we can stop with we teach truth, Jesus makes all the difference. You don't have to explain everything you do. You shouldn't explain everything you do in your mission statement. The reality is this is the most critical part of your organization. You have to be able to say, why do I exist? You have to just be able to say, why do I exist? And you have to be able to tell it to people as the leaders of organizations. Tell it to them in a short blip. I think this is a really good example. Acme Lutheran School. The mission of Acme Lutheran School is to help families in providing a Christ-centered education of high academic quality so that the students may be prepared to take an active, vital place in the home, the church, the state, and their future vocations by applying Christian principles in a biblical manner. Anybody have a mission statement like that? Right? Let me tell you everything we're going to do. I would say that the mission statement should be more about, again, on that same theme, we exist, or we equip students to become strong Christian dream makers and world changers. We'll tell you how all of that's going to be done, but that is what we want. That is what we want. That is your mission statement. That's why you exist. People don't buy what you do. They don't buy the fact that you have high academics. They don't buy the fact that you have really beautiful facility or your sanctuary has got new lighting in it. That's not why they're going to come to your church or go to your school. Why do you exist? What's different? So in our case, here's some ones that you might or might not recognize. We connect people whose to what's important in their lives through friendly, reliable, and low-cost airfare. You might be able to guess who that is from my earlier slides. That's Southwest Airlines, right? If you walked into an organization that said, we serve because you deserve better, if you knew that was a auto repair shop that you walked into, it might make you think a little differently about auto repair. Instead of we fix cars because they're broken. We're here to serve you because you deserve better. We glorify God by being faithful steward and all that is entrusted to us. We will have a positive influence on all who we come in contact with. Anybody know that one? They serve chicken. That's Chick-fil-A. There's not chicken listed anywhere. They just happen to serve chicken to be faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to them so they can influence others positively. We ensure financial resources and related services that are available now and in the future. Any LCEF friends in here? That's LCEF's mission statement. Right? We build, move, power, and cure the world. Nope. Think of that same vein, though. General Electric. Interesting, right? We teach truth. Jesus makes all the difference. That's us. We challenge the status quo. This used to be Apple's. It's no longer. We challenge the status quo with everything we do. We believe in thinking differently. That's why people could buy phones, iPods, computers, whatever from Apple, because they weren't talking about selling iPhones or computers. We will be the Earth's most customer-centric company. I bet you can guess that one too. Anybody order anything lately? Amazon. So here's the question. So we're going to get into the first one. Who owns the brand or the mission statement? I would contend that whoever is the leader of the organization owns it. You can't pass that off to anybody else. You have to be able to stand in front of anybody and say, we crafted, developed, articulated, inspired, and I will constantly remind everyone of our brand and our mission. Remember, it took 10 years to say, it's my pleasure to serve you, right? The leaders must never waver or let the organization waver from this. And the leader better know exactly why the organization exists and why it matters. Whoever you're talking to, you better be able to just go. That's why the leader owns it. However, to develop your brand statement and your mission statement, you can't do it in a vacuum, right? You need to work with and engage your stakeholders, your board members, your community, your partner, your church members, whoever it is. They need to be involved, but you need to build it. You need to build it. You need to own it. You need to be so in love with it that you can't get away from it. Okay? How do you create it? This is one of the best slides. There's no magic steps at all. You can create it a whole number of different ways. It's trial and error with key supporters. It's testing it out. It's coming up with a concept and going, I think this is what we are about, asking them and being careful to listen to the feedback and going, yeah, I don't know, it should be stronger than that. Or depending on the organization that you serve and that you're working with, boy, that sounds over the top. Is that really what we want to say, right? It's unique to you. You have to decide, why do you exist and why does anybody care that you exist? What is your differentiator? I think less is always more. Can you write your mission statement or your brand statement in 10 words? Look up, look around, look out. The one you shared was...
I counted, it was 12 words.
12. Okay, very, very strong, right? Those are great. I really think that is important, and that's where you have to start. Okay, I'm going to stop there. And questions, comments, challenges, things you think about, brand statement or mission statement, what I've said so far. I told you it's not a TED Talk. We have a lot to cover. Anything? Thoughts? Comments? Yes.
So like the Apple one,
Yep.
without any reference to their product or
Correct.
anything,
Correct.
it just strikes me as airy-fairy.
But it's why they exist.
It really is.
It is.
But
So I think as this session goes on, I think you go, okay, if all you're ever going to do is say, look up, look out, look around. And then you're like, got it, and we leave. Now it is, whatever you said, airy-fairy or whatever. The vision statement is going to be where are we going. Where are we going with look up? I'm going to use it because it's easy. Look up, and it's not mine. Look up, look around, look out. And then the core values are going to be like, well, how do we get there? How do we get to that vision statement? And then the core value statements are where the real sauce happens. And you guys already know it in your heart because you already said it's the most important thing. But what does that look like? That's what we're going to talk about. And so you can't leave it at one. And I think what you're touching on is actually part of the problem with most organizations is that they get a great mission statement. They might even have a great vision statement. And they go, we got it. And not to minimize putting it on a poster and putting it on a wall somewhere. Everybody can recite it. They got it. And then somebody says, well, I work in housekeeping. How do I deliver that on Saturday night after a basketball game when everybody left their garbage all over the place and I'm sweeping it up? How do I apply this mission statement to me at that time or Tuesday during study hall? Like, how does it apply then? That's where your core value and your core value statements come in. That's where the difference is made. So I think you have to, if it stood alone, I think you're right, okay? It would be nothing if it just stood alone.
Well, you're making me think my own. It needs to be filled in. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any other thoughts on this before we jump ahead? Okay. Let's jump to vision. I believe that the vision is where you're going. Where is your organization going? Okay? Think of it as a utopian world, not like where are we going? Well, I don't know. We got a big debt payment in 6 months, so I think we're going down the toilet. That's right. Maybe that is where you're going. Maybe you got a different problem. But where are you trying to go as an organization? What's a utopian? And we'll talk about this in a minute. But where are you going as an organization? I'm going to give you one more minute again. Share if you have a vision statement. How many people have a vision statement? Just raise your hand real quick. Okay. Some of you do. So let's instead of doing the share, because I don't want to put anybody in the spot like, well, we don't have one. Somebody who has a vision statement that they really like, give me that.
Meet Jesus, make friends, and make a difference.
Meet Jesus, make friends, and make a difference. So to me,
our mission is lifelong transformation.
okay, lifelong transformation in Christ. Meet Jesus, meet friends, meet others. Is that what you're saying? No,
Meet Jesus,
make friends. Okay. Okay. Good. Another one. One more. Do you have one over here?
Not that I want to share.
Okay. Let me share ours. I think I might have it in here later, but let me share ours. Ours is, so we wanted to dream what it's going to look like if it was the best it could be. So we wrote ours this way. Ours says, we ensure, keyword, we ensure exceptional experiences built on Jesus Christ and His Word for our students in our 4 pillars of focus: spiritual growth, academics, athletics, and the arts. Could have said everything in high school. But we will ensure, should scare you to death because it doesn't say every once in a while we'll have a good experience. We are going to ensure for all of our students, built on Jesus Christ and His Word, an exceptional experience in their entire high school experience. Are we doing that today? My head of schools, I think, left, so I can say, no, we're not. We're just not, right? We're never going to get to that vision statement. It's going to constantly be what we pursue. And it should be filled with action, and it should be filled with, this is what's important to us, right? So, who owns the vision statement? Same thing. They want to hear to the leader. How many people are here need to talk to donors to help fund their ministry? Everybody raise your hand, right? Every one of us. The first thing they're going to want to do and look at me and they're going to go, where are we going? Where's this organization going? What are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the golden outlook? It's your vision statement. And nobody can own it but the leader of the organization or the leadership group. It doesn't mean you have to bear all of that burden, but you have to own it as the leader. Craft, develop, articulate, and again, remind everybody of the vision. Don't waver. Figure out what it is and don't waver. But there's a larger group that has to be involved with this, because the vision, I'm going to jump and come back. The vision has to be aligned with a whole group of people, right? You can't be out there doing one thing. I'm going to jump one. In sharing your vision, you're the guy sharing the vision at the podium. Who's got the power? Yeah, because you're taking a risk. You're out there sharing your vision, right? Everybody's listening to you, but take a look at that example. Who's got the power? Now you still have to be out in front of them sharing the vision, because if they just walk out with you, that might be a problem. You still always have to be in front. I had one of my leaders, when I said, who's got the power? He said, well, the leader, because they're in charge. And I said, well, what about the cliff? And he said, what cliff? And I said, that's a problem. Doesn't even see the cliff, right? So the idea is you have to share your vision, but you have to understand that everybody has to be involved with that. And so a book by Chip and Dan Heath called Switch. It's a really good book. I just picked one area of that. They talk about you as the leader or the rider of the elephant. Right? You're in control. You're driving the elephant. And your organization, your workers, are represented by the elephant. You know what? The elephant's going to kind of go where it wants to go. You have to inspire and influence. You have to shape the path for the elephant. And then you have to inspire them and work alongside them so they're aligned with what you're doing, so you know where you're headed. It's called influence and inspiration as opposed to mandate. Right? So the whole idea behind your vision is it takes everybody. It takes alignment, and alignment is achieved through influence. Spend a lot of time talking to them, spend a lot of time getting them comfortable with where you're going, and then you can develop a vision that is powerful and successful. How do I create a strong vision statement? Ask this question: in a perfect world, what would describe our organization? If we could have everything we wanted, what would we talk about? I love this. Dream big. Please dream big. Way bigger than you usually do, because we serve a mighty and big God, and He can do amazing things with us. Plan for God to abundantly bless your vision. A lot of times we fall short because we're like, well, we didn't think about that somebody would do this. Now what do we do? Develop a vision concept. Try it out over and over and over again. And I think this is really hard. But I put this in there. I didn't know where to fit it exactly, but I think it's probably one of the most important things you can think of. You have to create alignment. You have to create buy-in and excitement around your vision, right? If your team members aren't aligned with your vision, then they're not aligned with your organization. And it is your calling or responsibility, I believe, as the leader, to, what we say, release them to the market so that they can find their true calling. And if you're in a school like ours, sometimes you say, maybe we'll release them to a competitor. Right? You just have to, we owe it to them, because they're not aligned with what you're doing. They're going to end up being miserable, and then you're going to end up being miserable. That's really, really hard in ministry, right? Really, really hard. But I think it's important. I think it's really important for them. So your vision, we believe your vision is where are you going? Where are you going? So right now, we've got a total of 30 votes. We've talked about 2 of those, and we've got a total of, can't do the math, 58, right? 58 votes, okay? They're important. However, if all you do is develop a mission statement and a vision statement, you still don't have, well, what does that do? How does it impact our organization? And so this is what I want to spend the rest of the time talking about. I am going to actually show you the process that we went through, and all those slides are in that presentation as well, so you can steal it although it's on a PDF, so I can send you the PowerPoint. If you get my information, it's on the bottom of the slide, or I can give you my email. I'll send you the actual PowerPoint so you can put your logo and names on it and steal it. But the core values are the key. How are you going to get where you're trying to get to? How are you going to achieve that vision? How are you going to satisfy your mission? And I think more than that, even the value statements, those describe, so you have a core value. Our core values are biblical truth, relationships, communication, growth, and love. 5 core values. I don't know of a Christian school that doesn't have biblical truth or the Bible or something as one of their core values. And I don't know one that it probably doesn't have relationships. And love is probably in there in some way. Growth might be replaced with excellence. I mean, you can define it any way you want. But the reality is the behaviors that we're going to exhibit that are going to display our core values is where the difference comes. Okay? So who owns the core values? Much different. The core values, we believe, needs to be owned by the workers. Everybody in your organization. They have to help create that core value. They have to be supported and maybe sometimes massaged by the leadership, right? But they own it. It's kind of like the switch elephant on steroids for the vision. You have to really get them engaged. Everybody's got to be nodding their head the same way. And there's a way that you can get that done. I'll share that with you in a little bit. The most important part of this for the leaders is the role of constant reminder. It took 10 years, the 10-year rule at Chick-fil-A. It's my pleasure to serve you. It's my pleasure to serve you. That's what's important to them. Engage everyone. Alignment's critical. Core values are the behaviors that demonstrate our brand. And they are, I love this phrase, we use it all the time, they are our decision-making filter. Every decision we make runs through our decision-making filter, which is our core values. Does this align with our core values? Is the decision we're about to make, does it sound like us, feel like us? Does it accomplish what we're trying to get to? Okay? You want a real life example of that? Here's a very real life example, and it actually happened to one of our schools, not in the picture you'll see, but it's representative. At our association, our core value, our second core value is called relationships. And here's our core value statement. Our commitment to others is marked by care, dignity, humility, integrity, and the application of grace as we build meaningful, lifelong connections with one another. So that's not a mission statement, right? Now we're talking about the actions behind the mission statement of sharing Jesus, shaping lives, and developing leaders. If our mission statement is to develop leaders, some of the actions are we're going to build relationships built on care, dignity, humility, and the application of grace, right? That's the doing. These took a long time, by the way, once you get them going. So here's the real life example. Let me explain this to you. That's not our kids. I wish I had kids like that on my basketball team. But just transport that to something that's important to you. If you're a school transfer to an athletic event, you absolutely knew when that basket was made with 2 seconds to go in the game, and he got fouled as he went to the basket to lay it up, that you had just won the state championship. Right? You're 2 seconds left. You're up by 2 now, up by 1, and you're going to go to the free throw line. The place is erupting. Everybody in your town and your school is there. Can't believe after 63 years you've won the state championship. Unbelievable. And the ref goes, offensive foul. Clearly that ref was the cousin of the coach of the other team. Clearly he has been paid off. And you are no longer the state championship, you're just another year. So here's the question. In that second, with, 60 or 6,000 people watching, how does your coach exhibit that core value as he's trying to build a meaningful, lifelong relationship with that official? Think about that. How you react in that moment can never be undone. That coach can never go back and call all those fans back in and say, I was just caught up in the heat of the moment. I'm really a God-fearing Christian guy, and I'm sorry for that. I shouldn't have said what I said to the official. But that doesn't work. You never get that back. In that moment, in that critical moment, how did you deliver your core values? Was it with grace? Was it with dignity and humility? Was it with integrity? And were you trying to build a connection with that person, or weren't you? That's where the core values become powerful. I use this real world example because 4 years ago, now we have a lot of teams, 4 high schools, however many, whatever. We had over 30 ejections, technicals, red cards, whatever you want to call them, within our organization. Last year we had 2. We still won championships. We still won conferences. We're actually better than we were then. But we only had 2 altercations where maybe we weren't doing a good job at this, as much as 30 where we were not following our own core values. You can never let go of your core values. Once you decide them, you figure them out, you put the statements together, how are you going to display those each and every day? This example is one that gives you just a graphic understanding. It's one we can all understand, right? And there's all kinds of excuses. I tell my coaches and our people all the time, first of all, they never get to see your math class on Tuesday. They just see it, you see it on a basketball court or on the football field. They don't get to see what happens there. And secondly, there's some mom or dad sitting in the stands with a student that's thinking about coming to your school, or somebody that's sitting there come as a visitor in your church for the first time, right? And they got ignored, or somebody that happened to me. I happened to be visiting a church, one of our association churches, and I was sitting there, and this lady's like, "Excuse me, sir, you're in my seat." That happened at one of my association churches. And I'm thinking, boy, that culture doesn't seem quite right. But so you can never get it back. There's somebody sitting there evaluating you, wondering how you live. And your core values are what make that happen, right? So how do you create a strong set of core values and core value statements? There's an entire process that is done, and I'm going to walk you through that. It's what I would love you to take home and share and use yourself. And I would send you, again, those PowerPoint slides. But the process has to be done with everybody. This is where the everybody owns the core value thing. And I mean everybody. All your executive leadership team, all your workers, all your board members, all your donors or members of the congregation, however that works with you, all your other stakeholders, any advisory groups you have. You have to do this over and over and over. We did 18 meetings in our organization to get this done. We did the same thing 18 times to collect the data to get where we got with our core values. You have to take the time to do that. These are going to be the daily behaviors that describe why you exist and why people should care. Those are the behaviors. They are your decision-making filters. They're going to be exactly who you are. It's going to define your culture. It's going to be the basis for your decisions, whether you're going to yell at that official or not, whether you're going to value this over that. It's all done through your core values. So I'm going to go through the process we went through. I'm not saying this is gold. It's just what we did. And I'd love to share it with you. Before I do that, any questions or thoughts on that before we kind of run through the process? Any comments? Yes, Alan.
What I really appreciate your emphasis on values. This, in my experience, facilitating strategic planning, this gets short shrift. Like these are throwaway, these are the things we stand for.
Right.
I love the fact that you're hammering home the importance of ownership throughout the organization. Because these do all of the things that you said, but they're also the key selling point.
Correct.
Of your organization is what makes you truly unique against any other competitor or peer or aspirant peer organization. So I think I love it.
Thank you for saying that. You get to, if you believe these and you really buy into them, you get to use them at any point in time. Well, we would handle this situation with humility and dignity. This is because it's part of our core values. So thank you. I thought I saw somebody else back there. Anybody else comment? No? Okay. So this is our template model. I just plugged it into the presentation. So here it is. There's some really cool things in here. Here's the first thing you do. So every meeting, understand, we had 18 of them because we had housekeepers and lunch groups at 4 schools and coaches, teachers, staff. However many meetings it takes for you to get everybody involved in this process, that's what you need to do. So you need to do it over and over and over and collect the data that way. Yep.
So you're a school, I'm a church.
Yep.
I have to do this, everybody at church.
It would be really interesting.
I hear you say maybe not.
I think you just have to decide who are your key stakeholders. I would say yes, all your church members would be key stakeholders. They would want to be involved in knowing that. Now, the key is you're not going to take that data, calculate it, pop out the top 5 and go, well, that's them. You still have organizational influence over who you are and where you're going, right? You still have, I don't want to say veto power, but you'll see themes. You'll see themes develop, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So, yes, I think as many people who are in this community, in your church, that you can engage in and get their insight as to what are we supposed to be valuing is really important.
And when you get that full membership telling you that, what you're going to find is that some of those core values don't match up with what your mission is.
That's correct.
In the first place, and so filtering those out and then dealing with them becomes the next issue.
And it also means that once you get to the point, the people, if they're involved in the process and their golden core value isn't in the 5, they don't automatically go, well, I can't worship here anymore. They know that they've been heard, it fits in, they're part of the process, so they will align and engage and work with the organization. So it's the process that's important. Here's how we start every meeting, and this is super important because you have everybody to write this down on their own piece of paper. Our organization values people who are blank, on time, whatever they feel. Our organization values people who are blank, and have everybody write that down. And then we have an opportunity, we have an open position. What character qualities are we looking for when we hire somebody in our organization? Have them write that down. My favorite one. Who do you admire and why? You can't say Jesus. He's excluded from that. Who do you admire and why? The most important part is the why. And then individuals have personality, organizations have personalities. What do we want our personality to be? So they write all those down, and then you ask them to some share. Right? The who do you admire is always fun. They'll say my dad because he always makes time for me, or my mom because she'll drop everything and serve me because I need help, or a friend, or whatever it is. Who's always striving to be better. What you're actually asking them is, what are your personal core values? What do you think is important? Yeah. You're giving them a chance to articulate what really is valuable, because core values should never be compromised. The core values should never be compromised for short-term gain, financial advantage, anything. They are your core values. They are your decision-making filter. And so what we do after that, we let people figure that out, and then we say, okay, just as a reminder, here's our brand, here's our mission, here's our vision based on 3 John, and now we are going to talk about why they matter. Values influence who you hire, how you change behavior, what your culture is, what your growth is. We just continue to talk through the process with them of why these core values are everything to our organization. And then before we get into the process, we say, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Values are essential and enduring. They're guiding principles or your decision-making filter, and they're never to be compromised for short-term gain. Right? So we set them up with all of that. We're all ready, right? We kind of know what we feel like. We know what we talk about. Then we go, all right, here we go. Here are 30 categories of things that people could value. A category of results, a category of teamwork, a category of compassion. It's not an exhaustive list. There's probably others. It's just one that we found and developed. And then we say, here are 10 items, core values, recommendations for results. 10 for competition, 10 for teamwork, 10 for commitment, 10 for creativeness, 10 for longevity, 10 for adventure, 10 for capabilities, 10 for learning, etc., etc., etc. Right? Continues to go through the process. There are 300 and, I'm not even sure, 390 words. And then they also have the opportunity to pick their own if they can't find it on the list. So you give them ample time. And you say, here's suggestions. What do we value? And then we give them this rule. You can't pick more than 6. But you can use the thread description. So like leadership was one of the first threads. You can pick anything on any of those, right? And they have to come down to 6. The first question you get is, well, I have 8. Can we do 8? No, you got to get down to 6. Well, but these 2 are really important. Figure out which one's more important. Doesn't mean the other one isn't, but what's your most important 6? Okay? So now you can imagine this is pretty, if there was a room like this size, this process would take some time. But it's so enlightening and so much fun to go through that. And you get all of them to write their own 6 on their piece of paper, and then you take a Sharpie or a dry erase marker, and you go, okay, what are your 6? You write them down. And then you go, what are yours? And you go, well, he took 2 of mine. It's like, okay, what are the other 4? And you write them down. You go all the way around, and you have a board of 60, 60 values. Hopefully it's not 300. That means you don't have much alignment in your organization. But you just write them down, right? Now we're whittling it down. Now there's 60 different things that are out there that maybe we value, and people are nodding their heads and having discussions, and you're like, all right, now back to the first thing we did today, right? Now we're going to vote on them. Now you're going to vote on them. You have $12. Use this in a bigger group. You have $12, a maximum vote of $4, a minimum vote of 1. And you do exactly what we did at the start of this session. Exactly the same process. And you go, and you go, okay, love, 162 votes. Excellence, 54 votes. Care, 4 votes. And you're like, don't we care about people? It's like, it doesn't mean that. It just means you're trying to pick the top ones, right? And you get down to the numbers, and then you literally circle the top 5. And then you go, tell me about that. Does that feel like us? Does that feel like our organization? Do those 5 feel like what we really value? And they'll be like, well, I think compassion and passion and joy are more important than this. And then you start to combine it. Like, well, aren't all of those maybe a aspect of love? And they're like, well, maybe. So you start to discuss that. What ends up happening, I'm going to go way back now. What ends up happening is you're going to end up with a lot of words like care, dignity, humility, integrity, grace, lifelong connections. And they kind of fit, but those are all part of relationships. So you build a core value of relationships, and then you describe it with the next 20 things that might fit. They all fit within there. If I value relationships, it's because I care about that person. I treat them with dignity. I want to give them grace when something maybe goes wrong, whatever that is, right? So you build them all based on the process of coming up through all of these words. And so then what you end up with is you end up with whatever the number of core value statements are, or the number of core values are, with the statements right behind them. So you have all of the behaviors that that you exhibit or describe what your core values look like. So here's some that came out. Here's some of the core values that are out there. GE, humility, transparency, focus, and integrity. Disney, customer focus, innovation, storytelling, and excellence. Apple, innovation, design, and customer experience. Southwest, a warrior spirit, a servant heart, and a fun-loving attitude, spelled with a U. Chick-fil-A, we're here to serve, we're better together, we're purpose-driven, we pursue what's next. Notice they're all very different, right? You're not going to have, they're going to be unique to you, but they are going to describe your organization. And then you get to have some fun with it. You got to build something that is unique to you, that people will understand, and then you have to remind them about it all the time. So my business card, if I can, there you go. This is ours. We have on my business card, I have that brand building. It explains on my business card our brand, our mission, our vision, our core values, and our expected behaviors, our 5 core values. And on the back, it lists our 5 core value statements. My thank you notes that I send to my donors have our 5 core values on them and our brand building on the back. So they always know this is what we're about. It's a constant reminder of why we exist and why you should care. Just a constant reminder. That's what we do. This is one we did for that auto center. There's our different. Notice they wanted their vision statement on top because they inspire loyalty through a relentless pursuit of creating they stole our exceptional experiences for their team members and for their guests. So right, it looks different. Chick-fil-A's looks different. They're here to serve. They're better together. They're purpose-driven. They pursue what's next. Again, I put that up there because it has nothing to do with chicken. It has everything to do with why they exist and why we should care about them. So, I'm going to have you do one more exercise in a second, but I'm going to stop there before we do this and see if you got, we'll have questions at the end too if you want. But any questions on core values or things that you want to challenge? Yeah?
Yeah, so you're bringing in somebody new.
Yep.
Or you're creating these things.
Yep.
For the first time. Can you go back to how are you teaching it? Because if it matters how the coach handles the technical foul, you don't just have a core value. Hopefully they read it.
Correct. It's embedded in everything that we do. So our onboarding, our first of all, I can't open my mouth without talking about that. Anybody within our organization, we talk about it, and our athletic directors, it's all part of our discussions. And so they have their athletic handbooks. The very first page of their athletic handbooks are those core values. So when they're onboarded, like, look, this is what we stand for. I actually meet with everybody that we hire in our organization, and my meetings are usually 5 or 10 minutes. But I'm like, so here's what you need to know. If you know nothing else about our organization, this is your guide. These are our core values. This is what we believe in. We'll never waver from them. This is why we exist. So it is, the doing of that is incredibly intentional, and it's incredibly repetitive. You can never assume that they've got it, right? Even today. So we all think that my pleasure to serve you works every time, all the time. It doesn't. They're having to reintroduce. So here's to your example. Chick-fil-A's front counter people, right? The people that actually deliver the chicken. They have 100% turnover per year in those spots in their organization. Nobody stays longer than a year on average. So they got to do exactly what you're asking about over and over every year. It's the commitment of the people that are in that organization to keep going and keep going and keep going, right? There's no magic way to do that. It's just it's a commitment to it and really hard work. Yep.
I'm thinking of a congregation, and you say the brand, mission statement, vision statement comes through the leader.
Yep.
But the core values are more
to the organization. So you bring a new pastor in.
Yep.
He's got a new vision, he's got a new mission statement and all of that. Does he work through a new set of core values, or do you say your mission statement, vision and stuff has to coordinate with that, with our core values? How does that come together for a congregation?
That is a great,
Goes through pastors
yep.
who have to do this.
It's a great question, and I would say that succession planning, which I know you can't do with pastoral care all the time, which we also can't do with school leadership all the time, but developing, if the congregation, so understand the brand mission and vision don't get developed in a vacuum and then tried out on the congregation. The congregation is going to be very aware of it before you go into the core values. Like, this is what we believe in. We are a mission-minded church. We're going to be out in the community all the time doing this, whatever it is, right? And then so when they build the core values, they already know what the brand mission vision kind of is. It's just who owns it. And then they come along and say, well, here's how we get to that brand mission vision with these core values. So that it's built together. Now, when there's a leadership change, that's part of the problem with leadership changes. There's always a challenge or always a potential that your mission and vision goes over here. And so two things have to happen. Like in our organization, our next leader, as we interview for that, it's so embedded in our organization that we're going to say, look, this is what we do. This is where we're going. This is who we are. Talk to us about how you feel about that. So you won't get the, whoop, now we're going over here. They wouldn't be a good fit for our, if 290 of us believe in this, and he's like, I don't believe in any of that. We're going to go this way. It's probably not going to work out very well. So I think it's a balance. Maybe there is a shift that needs. I'm not saying the ones we have are good forever. Maybe there is a need, like, we don't believe in this anymore. We need to be much more, disciple-driven or whatever it is. So it's going to adjust. And so the answer is yes, these are not static, ingrained forever. They are fluid and moving, but they need to be able to be what you stand for. So I don't have, clearly you can understand, I don't have a one-word answer like yes or no. Like, it's got to feel the situation. You got to determine what is best for that time.
What I'm hearing is if a congregation then shares their mission, vision statements, besides their core values, their brand and all of that,
Yep.
they're looking for a pastor who buys in to what they have already done.
Absolutely.
And instead of a pastor who comes in with a vision, who comes in with a mission idea, that's a little more challenging.
Yep, absolutely. And I think that, and yet, depending on how it starts, right, a second pastor may be very comfortable with look up, look around, look out, like they might adapt it and deliver that a little bit differently. But if the congregation's really switched on to do that, they're going to want to be part of that as well, right? Or you got to work through it. Yep, absolutely. Real quick, yep.
I think the other challenge is, does this church or school or whatever really support these core values? So in reality, are they just meaningful core values and we got all this developed, but we're not really living that or supporting that? And so maybe that needs to be reviewed too.
John, so you're stating exactly the bottom line of all of what we've just talked about. They have to be the decision filter. They have to be the behaviors that you have established every day in your organization, no matter what kind of organization you have. And it takes a lot of emotion and takes a lot of conflict out of your organization. I'll give you a really good example. One of our core values is communication. I'm walking down the hallway of one of our schools, and I see a teacher who's going past 50 students, and they have their head down, and they're just kind of like going like this. And I can stop that person and go, hey, Steve, you okay? Yeah, why? It's like, well, one of our core values is communication. We talk about it all the time. Your body language is really bad right now. Is there something going on in your life? You don't want to blast them with it, but you can take the emotion out of it. Like, do I need to help you? Is there something else going on? No, I was just thinking about my dad who's going in for surgery today. Well, we should pray about, like you can, whatever it is, you can address those through your core values without attacking the person, right? I can address that basketball game, as horrible as it might have been, without saying, you're a horrible coach because you didn't do this. That's not what we're about. We're about, it doesn't prevent you from being you. It doesn't prevent you from expressing your own, personality, but these are the behaviors that we expect. So every day, all the time, no days off, that's what it is. These are the behaviors. They describe what happens is it creates your culture. What we've just talked about, it creates the culture of your organization, right? What we're talking, everybody knows you walk into Chick-fil-A, there's a different culture than when you walk into Kentucky Fried Chicken. Everything that they do creates their culture. All of those core values create your culture. And if you don't have your foundation of those, it can switch. And that's not what we want. All right. Yes?
One other question. Coming from where I come from, I'm a transitional ministry pastor, or
Yeah.
I go in as an intentional interim.
Yep.
It would not be my place to do this. Brand, mission, and vision, and so on, because I'm not going to be the leader of that
Right.
congregation. I'm going to be in, work on some things, and out.
Correct. I would say this. In that role, because I've spent that role in business for 25 years, it's your responsibility to make them aware of the importance of this process and getting aligned and connected and see what values they may already have and start to build that without doing that. So you can share with the next leader, here's what we know. This are really good. They have no idea about this and this. This is an area. So your work is actually, you have a perfect position to be able to introduce this and not go I would not go through that process in the type of role you're talking about. But you could discover so much for them and get them, and for the next person that comes in, you could get them so much further ahead of the game when they start. Because you can say, here's what we know. We really value, our community. We really value our youth. And our youth pastor, really struggles in this because he needs help in this or she needs, whatever, right? So yes, that makes sense?
And they can maybe identify the right pastor there.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. They'd be like, oh, now we need to know a little more.
See, sometimes we've been told as interim pastors, if they don't have a mission statement, if they don't have a vision statement, help them create it before the new pastor comes.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing what
Nope.
you're saying is saying,
I would not do that.
No way.
Yeah. That would,
Or where they're at,
correct.
not what did not.
Correct, not where they're going. Yep. All right. Bear with me for this. It's going to give you, don't fall asleep on me, but just do this just so you understand. So we talked about core values being your culture, right? You should be able to feel it. You should be able to understand what's important by those core values and those core value statements, right? So take a deep breath. Close your eyes for it's not going to be long. Close your eyes for just a minute and just listen for just a minute, okay? Just listen to these words. Close your eyes. Biblical truth, Jesus, exceptional experiences, developing leaders, the inerrancy of Scripture, service, care, dignity, humility, grace, honest communications, respect, integrity, clarity, consistency, timelessness, expectations, accountability, growth, continuous improvement, the pursuit of excellence, opportunities, God's given talent, others, care, passion, compassion, and love. Okay, open your eyes for a second. What'd you feel? Could you feel it? Could you feel what that organization should, if I was involved in that organization, if that's what it stood for, get a pretty good picture of how that should operate, right? That's ours. All of those are descriptors, either in our core value or our core value statements. Every one of those is listed. Quite honestly, those are the 31 top core values that fit in there somewhere. It's like, well, love is stronger than care, passion, and compassion, but they make sense. So our core value on love is we strive to emulate Jesus' love through care, compassion, and passion for others. So they all fit in there. We get to describe the behaviors when it's Tuesday night and you're cleaning up the gym or you're doing whatever. This is what it should feel like. If you're not sure, use these as your decision-making filter. I don't know if that's good or bad. This is what we do every day, each day, reminding over and over and over. And it takes all of the challenges out of, well, what are we supposed to be doing? Where are we supposed to be going? What do we try to do next? If you're not sure, just look at the core values. If you're not sure, talk to somebody about where you are. It just absolutely takes all of the guesswork out of where your organization's going and allows you to create a culture that others will be inspired to. I use all of this with my donors all the time. Anybody that wants to invest in our organization, this is all we talk about. We talk about it in regards to how it's impacted kids' lives and what they do. But this is what we stand for. And they were very clear on where we're going. Questions? Thoughts, comments, anything else? That's it. That's all I got. Yes?
Can you tell me the vision statement of your organization again?
Our vision statement is built on Jesus Christ and His Word. We will ensure exceptional experiences in our 4 pillars of focus: spiritual growth, academics, athletics, and the arts. Remember, we're high schools.
Would you go back to your first slide? that said
Hang on, I'm not done.
Oh,
So, I'm thinking vision. What does that tell me about the future? Is vision about the future?
Vision is where we're going. Vision is where is our school going?
So where does it come in? Like things like we want to build more schools, or where does that kind of thing come in?
That would be in our growth core value.
Okay.
We have a core value of growth. We're going to continue to serve as many kids as we are able to. Right? Thank you guys for coming so much. Appreciate you. I know some of you guys are getting to go something else.
Your phone number and your email is on the first slide.
Yeah, I can go back to all of that, I think. So in PDF format, it's in the app. So you can get them in the app in the PDF format. If you want them in PowerPoint format, especially the core value creation, I can, this is my phone number. That's my email address. Email me and I would be happy to share it with you. Yep.
So we have just started doing this process.
Yep.
Because I am taking on the marketing and I'm like, I don't even know what to tell people.
Right.
So I need to know this. And now we found out our principal is leaving.
Yep.
So we're kind of where he was talking as the interim.
You bet. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Would you suggest to just continue where we're going?
I would.
Because it could be a year or 2 years or who knows how long.
I think the only thing, what's your name?
I'm Nancy.
Nancy, thank you. Nancy, I think the only thing you have to be careful of is you have to have wiggle room, right? Your school can't do nothing as you're trying to market and create and grow and figure that out while you're finding the new leader. But you have to be then very communicative and say, we're building this, we're excited to get a new leader that's aligned, but we're still in process with that. So you're finding a new principal, you don't have an executive, you don't have an executive director though? So the most senior leader of your organization other than the school board is your principal? So who's operating in that regard when that principal isn't there? So nobody. So that's what you need to establish first. And I would resist the temptation to say, well, I have a very interested board member who said they'll take on that role. That's not right. Right. You'd be a good candidate. You would be a good candidate. The more you can define who you are, where you're going, what it could look like, the better you're going to be.